I think that's
I would like to give a shout out, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
To all the truckers, you brought them in a while ago, just a moment ago, and I did think about this earlier. All you truckers that are out there on the road listening to this show, thank you, first off. Secondly, I want you to know you're doing a great job transporting all the goods and services that you do, and we commend you. And secondly, I want to give a shout out to all the American vets that have served for this country. I thank you personally. There.
And I know they thank you for thanking. That's a lot of them. When they came back, like from Vietnam, or they came back from Gulf and stuff, they really felt, they had a bad feeling.
Exiled.
Yeah, they did.
Exiled.
Yeah, and a lot of issues and a lot of problems, that weren't and still are not being resolved. Now, getting in you, how many times have you passed on?
6 times total, and we're hoping. I've joked about it. I said, "Well, I guess I'm a cat. I must have 9 lives, so I got 3 left." So we're hoping for that, if that's the case. But either way, it doesn't really, for me, dying doesn't hold the same premise as it does for some people. I don't fear it. Some people who have had near-death experiences and have survived or came back, we all seem to have the same kind of mental attitude about things. Like, we can conquer the world. There's nothing we can't handle. I don't know, a security that's put into us at that point that we know this is not the end of the chapter or the end of the book. You're going to technically, your eyes will close, your body will shut down, but your soul will continue on. So, that's from my perspective. I'm not, condoning it for someone else to think that. That's their belief. If they don't think that, that's their belief again. But I know what my personal belief is. And, I know that I've studied up on all the medical technology or technological terminologies, rather, for it, and saying that the brain synapses are closing down, so there's a firing mechanism that happens in the brain, much like it does in a carburetor of a car. And so, therefore, you're going to get some backfires, and it's going to send some memory engrams that are going to, produce imagery inside your mind as your brain is shutting down. I don't believe all that. I just don't. Because too many of us that have had the NDE experiences all describe, and none of us have come into contact with the other. We all seem to have a mission. We all have a mission in this world for something that we're supposed to do, and it becomes very known to us after we've had a near-death experience. Mine is to help the homeless. So, for any of your listeners, besides giving a donation to your station, to, afford with the cost and what have you, if any one of you can at least give $1 to a homeless charity, to a church that's going to actually help the homeless, even if it means giving $1 to the homeless person or going to a Burger King or McDonald's and buying them a meal and giving it to them. It doesn't matter if you do it one time a week or one time a month. You've still helped somebody, and you've given a meal to somebody that wouldn't have had it if you didn't.
Oh, yeah. And people got to remember to do that. I got to ask you a question. I had a guest on my show about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. Now, she had a near death, or actually she was clinically dead, I think, for about 7-8 minutes. And she remembered.
Mine was 12 and a half.
Yeah, she remembered when she was in the operating room, she actually saw herself looking down at her body.
Yep.
She actually heard the music they were playing. The doctors were playing a song, and she actually, remembered the name of the song. She remembered some of the stuff they were talking about, and when all of a sudden they managed to revive her, I guess like the next day she was talking to the doctor. She goes, I was, looking at my body. I had an out-of-body experience. And the doctor says, no, that's impossible and all this stuff. And she goes, well, you were playing such and such song. You were talking about, your golfing, which evidently a lot of doctors must golf, and talking about some strange stuff. And the doctor, she said, was really in shock because, she's seen all this stuff, and she said she saw the white light, and she was like hovering over her body, and something wanted to pull her the other way, but something was telling her, no, it's not your time. You need to go back into your body. And, she did. And, that was her near-death experience.
Mine was very similar. The first one I had, which was May 17th, 1992. And it was on Bradenton Bridge. I don't know if you're familiar with that area or not. It's a very long bridge that goes across from the Tampa or the Hillsborough County over to the Pinellas County area, or the Bradenton area. And it goes across the Gulf. And my car, I was involved in the driver of the other vehicle was drunk at the wheel, and they swerved into my car, and I had what was called a Dodge Daytona. I don't know if you remember those cars or not.
Oh, yes.
But it catapulted me when it knocked my car into the side of the bridge, the middle wall in between the ongoing and the coming traffic, knocked my vehicle into the wall of the bridge, and it was raining, and my car skidded, and it flipped end over end. Well, the first flip threw me out through the hatch window.
Oh, wow.
And so I shot out the back hatch window. The reports were that I went over 3 telephone high off the bridge, from the height of the bridge. Each telephone pole is about 30 feet. So it was about 90 feet that I was up in the air. Came back down, and the car is still moving, the Dodge Daytona. It's flipped, and now it's skidding. And it's going at a rapid speed, and my body came down in front of it.
Oh, wow.
And my body continued to slide, scraping 3 layers of skin off the back of my back. A lot of skin grafting, thanks to the Bradenton Hospital for that part of reconstructing. But it shaved the back of my head. It crushed when I came to a land on the bridge, it had crushed every bone in the lower part of my face. And the young man that was in the car with me, he had actually been doing the driving. We had just switched places because I had been up late that night before with my son who had been sick. And so I was pretty tired. I told him at one point when we were heading down there, I said, because we were heading to the beach, and I was going to stay the night and then get up the next morning and go to the beach and meet some other people that were going to be there. And I said, look, why don't you take over the wheel? And I said, and I'm just going to sit over here in the passenger seat and just relax a little bit. We only got about 20 minutes before we're at the beach. Well, that's when the accident happened. Prior to that moment, I had lost my grandfather a few years before that. And I had lost my grandfather when I was 17, and this happened when I was 23. And I had questioned, okay, God, if you're real, I'd like to know you're real. I'd like to know you're out there. I'd like to know that there is really a heaven. I had thought this many times in my mind. So when I don't remember the flight as far as going up, 90 feet and coming back down, but I do remember being conscious enough on the bridge that the buddy of mine, his name was Billy, was holding my head from underneath on his lap as much as he could. I was on the road. And I looked very, very pathetic at that point. I had shards of steel and glass in my legs and my arm. And if you saw me, you would have, just passed out basically. And looked like I had been in a shrapnel field, where a mine had gone off. And so I died right then. And I felt my soul detached from my body. And I looked back as I was behind the crowd of people who had gathered around at this point. I saw the EMS wagon backing up. I heard the deet, 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 like the sound of, their vehicles when they were backing upwards. I could see all that. I could hear all that. I could hear them talking. I could hear the sheriff telling people to stand back. I could hear the buddy of mine saying, please don't die, Randy, stay with me, because my real name is Randy, but I go by RW. And So I could hear all that. But suddenly it was not of any consequence to me. I could actually see my body. I couldn't see my face, but I could see my body itself. And I was being drawn to look to my right. And as I looked to my right, imagine like you're looking into just like in any territory, in your wherever you're at, in your office or wherever, and suddenly a door opens, and it's completely different than the rest of the room or anywhere you're at, and there's blackness in it. And the door opened, and I felt drawn to go to the door. And as I went in through the door, suddenly I was in outer space. I mean, seriously, I could look down, I could see the planet Earth, and I was still traveling.
Now, I got to ask you a question, RW. I mean, when how long did it take for you to realize that you were dead at that point?
Just moments. I mean, it was like an instantaneous thing, because the first thing that went through my brain was, oh my God, am I wearing clothes? And I looked at myself, and I was not. And I said, oh, but you know what? I don't care. I'm one of those very anal retentive people who worries about.
You're the first person to admit that. I've asked some other people that, died and had near-death experiences, where they got hit by a car or something happened, or they got shot, and they say, yeah, I was wearing clothes and all this stuff. I sometimes wonder if when you're dead, and you're whatever it's happening, are you going to have clothes, or are you going to be, I hate to say it, are you going to be in your birthday suit?
When I first noticed that I could see my body and see the crowd of people around, I did notice I had clothes on. I had the same clothes that I had been wearing were on me. But when I stepped through that doorway and I was soaring through outer space, and that's the only thing I can tell you it's called. I don't know really if that's really what it was, but I mean, it seemed like outer space. I could see the Earth, and the Earth was getting smaller and smaller as I was going. The first very strong thought that came to my brain or came to my mind or my being at that point was everything that I had gone through, every memory, every thought I had ever done or thought about had all been a dress rehearsal for the real moment. And the real moment was then, that I had been sleeping prior to that point, and now I was suddenly awake. That's the difference. It's like if you woke up from say you had been in a really strong, powerful dream, and it feels so vivid, so real, and then suddenly you wake up, and you go, oh my God, that just felt so weird. It felt so real. That's how it felt for me.
Now, did you feel any pain? Did you feel
none?
Cold or warm, or
no.
Did you have any type of what type of no feelings or anything like that?
No. Well, I did have feelings. I mean, I had emotions, but nothing. Once that little brief thought of, am I wearing clothes? And I looked and saw that I wasn't. It wasn't even a consequence to me. It wasn't like trivial type things. The only things I could think about, because I had a young son at the time, he was only 6, was I was concerned for him. I was concerned for my mom. And as I was going through this tunnel, and I saw this tunnel suddenly out in outer space, it looked like like the size of a quarter. I saw it forming as I was traveling towards it. And I'm thinking, in my brain, or my mind, whatever, because your brain is a part of your physical essence, but in my mind, I could see this, and I was going, I'm never going to fit through that. But I knew I was going to have to. I just knew there was something like pre-programmed in me to say, you're going to go through this. And as I got closer to it, it started to widen and get bigger and bigger until finally it engulfed me. I mean, it was all around me. And it was like I was on a conveyor belt almost, but I wasn't. I wasn't touching anything, but I was moving forward. But I wasn't traveling like on my belly any longer. I was standing upright. And as I was standing upright, I could